Dave Scott Hub Media. Today we're doing the Leon's Charity Chat. It's for the April 2025 edition of the Hub. Hope you enjoy the Hub. I'm joined by Joel Jameson from Community Living Access, and I'm joined by Brittany and Sean Wilson from the Trees Point area. And we're going to talk a little bit about funding and what's going on these days and how folks are managing to survive. Joel, can you give me a quick update on sort of where we're at? I mean, it looks like what I've read, funding hasn't improved in a long time. Can you verify that?
No, it has been a very long time. I have actually worked with community living for 38 years. Every year it's a struggle. Agencies that have unions are always in negotiations to improve um, the funds and the support that individuals will get, and also the employment of new people. Um, Nowadays, every year it seems that we have less and less um, people to choose from that are going to work with our agencies. Developmental service worker programs across the country are shrinking, and the wage that we can offer compared to other agencies, people going in other directions, but we're still here.
And you're the list is incredible across Ontario. Over 52,000 folks waiting, isn't it? It's like that's that's way too big. So, and it looks like the funding hasn't improved in a long time. Where cost of living has risen 60-70%. You guys have only seen a 7% increase over that period of time. You can't function that way. It doesn't work, does it?
No, not at all. And the agencies that I've been talking to, I go to a lot of meetings with other community living agencies. They've all been struggling. They all are running in a deficit. Every year that Five to Stay Alive was to help us get to money not to go into a deficit. It wasn't money to help in increase the salaries. It was just to continue to offer support. So the 2% that we did not receive is going to be showing up as a deficit again, and that will happen every year until we can sort this out.
And it's important that folks realize, just in a nutshell, because I don't think a lot of people realize what community living access does. Can you sort of frame that up for me so folks understand what you guys do?
Well, I actually work with Community Living Six Nations. It's very similar. Like, we did not recreate our agency. Most community livings run pretty much the same, offering different programs. Some are continuing to have day programs, some group homes, and other activities. So our agency, we still have a day program, but it's not a day program. For Community Living Six Nations, we have a cultural program.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do, which actually keeps our day program alive, I believe, is that we're teaching some of our culture, and the main culture is language. I mean, our people have lost their language. Individuals with developmental challenges are in the same boat. They've lost their languages, and grandmas and aunties that are speaking Mohawk or other languages from Six Nations cannot speak with their grandmother. So for us to give the opportunity to teach our guys in a classroom setting basic Six Nations language is incredible.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to switch over just for a minute because I want to talk to Sean and Brittany. And Brittany, she gets out and does lots of stuff. She likes music. She plays sledge hockey, and she likes to go to the pool and do some swimming. A woman after my own heart. I love to get outside and do those athletic things too and have fun. So I want to say hello to Britt. I know Britt's hanging in there. Thank you. And Sean, I want you to go into depth, a little bit of detail about the story and sort of what you and Anna, your wife, have faced over these years trying to help Britt along.
Yeah, it's definitely been a struggle. You know, it was a little bit easier when Brittany was in school. It gave us a little bit of extra time to ourselves. When she turned 21 and was done school, it was she's with us 24/7 basically. We're Brittany needs constant care. She needs to be fed, toileted. Um, basically every aspect of her day to day is dependent on either Ann or I or a respite worker. Um, the funding for our respite workers has been a real struggle over the years. It doesn't get increased. The government sets the poverty level, yet you know anybody with special needs is way below that poverty level. Almost half of what the government sets the poverty level at. So we could use a lot more funding, sustainable funding that's going to be there to support and take care of the Brittany. And as we get older, it's definitely not any easier on my wife and I.
And you were telling me off air just a little bit about what went on when you were applying for subsidies when Brittany became an adult at 18 and just that nightmare you went through. Do you mind just sharing that with the folks?
Yeah, when Brittany went from child and youth to adult services, nothing changed overnight. She just turned 18 and became an adult in the eyes of the system, but there was such a lag in funding because you once you turn 18, the child and youth stops and you go on to the adult sector. There was almost a year lag where there was no funding. Um, so once again, Brittany was still in school at the time, but what do you do when Ann and I need to work? Um, we were both 12-hour shift workers at the time, so Britt's done school at 3:30. We're not done till 7.
Yeah,
So you still have to have somebody there to get Brittany off the bus and take care of her till we get home and feed her and everything else, which we depended on our respite workers at the time. But when the funding's not coming in to pay them, it either comes out of our pocket or you have to come up with solutions. And like I was saying, my wife went off on stress leave because it was just so much of a burden. Um, so that kind of helped us out in a way, but not really because now she's home with Britt and the day-to-day stress and the worry and once again it just seems to be one wait list after another wait list after another wait list. So
I got to ask. I mean, you and your wife going through this situation, and obviously, it's very clear you guys love your daughter dearly, and you're going to do whatever you can to help. Like reaching out, when you reach out and talk to politicians, is there just no feel for what you feel? Like it bothers me so much that in a world that we live in today, we should be helping each other. And the government's responsibility to each and every one of us is sitting there and just not to listen. And you got 52,000 people on a wait list. There's
yeah,
something wrong. There's something broke here. And the government needs to be more accountable. I'm sorry, I'm going off a little rant because it just bugs me so much that we don't see it stepping up, and we need to in all facets of our community as well. You guys do some great fundraising with the sledge hockey. You're doing all kinds of stuff to ensure that community living access keeps going, but the government's got to do their part.
well, yeah, and like you said, there needs to be more of an awareness to the the problem because I'm going to say the majority of people don't realize that this issue is out there, and why would they really? Um, but programs like this and getting the word out there that yeah, this is a huge problem. It definitely needs to get out there. I've spoken with our MPP Bobby Ann, and she's brought it up in Queens Park, and hopefully it's not falling on deaf ears. There's lots of funding for a lot of different programs and a lot of different things, but it always seems that this one gets overlooked.
I agree 100%. And to you and your wife, kudos, man. Keep it going. Keep doing what you're doing. It's important that you do that aspect and keep talking about it because raising awareness, I think, is critical. Joel, you have a similar situation. You have your sister, correct?
Yes, my mother passed away in May 2023, and there was nowhere really that was planned for her that my mom thought my brother and I were going to take care of her, which we absolutely are doing. And she's living month to month with my brother and myself. My brother lives in Marmora. I live in Port Dover, and every month it's a huge transition for my sister. I have to drive her, meet my brother, and then she has to settle in for a week or two to realize, this is my home again. This is where I live. And then the next month she's coming back to Port Dover. We meet again, and there's that transition period where she's confused, and we almost thought maybe it was an Alzheimer's situation, but it's just trying to get stable again. So it's created a huge problem for my sister. I'm happy we're there for her, but if we weren't there, what would have happened with my sister? My mother would pass away. I guess she would go to urgent response. But because there is support for her, we're kind of once again like at the end of the list. And my sister has been working in with community living for 31 years, and since my mother passed away, it's like she goes to the bottom of the list again. And I get it. I don't think it's fair that she should move to the front of the list, but for somebody that has been in service with a different community living, and now has moved, who definitely needs support, I still feel she's in urgent response, just because of that transitional period in between. It causes a lot of stress, which I had mentioned before that my wife and I don't have a lot of arguments. We've been together for a very long time. We're never really in a lot of we don't have a lot of arguments, and currently now we argue every other month when my sister's in town. So lot of pressure.
And Sean, speaking to that, I mean, you talked a little bit about your wife Anna and sort of the situations you go through. I don't think people understand the value of just having your time with your wife. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the mental
Yep.
health aspect of that is critical for you guys, and even just being able, right, to occasionally go out for dinner or just go for a walk. I don't think people really. That's something that you guys don't get every day, isn't it?
No, there's definitely it's called caregiver burnout.
Right.
It's definitely a reality. Like when you're dealing with things, and like Joel says, you day to day you just do it, and you go on, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up, and then all of a sudden it's just sometimes the smallest things that and it just blows up.
Right.
I was telling Joel when Brittany was still in school, or Brittany has a 17-year-old brother, and VON offered to come in the morning to help get Britt ready, and I was like, no, we don't need that. Well, we can get Britt up, we can take care of it. And they said, well, give it a trial, and it really hit me hard when they started coming in, because our son was probably 5 or 6 at the time, and he'd be like, Dad, can you make me toast? And I'd be like, nobody, you got to wait. I'm feeding your sister. And how fair is that to a 6 or 7-year-old to say, no, you need to wait because I need to take care of your sister? And it's just little things like that that start adding up, and you start realizing that, yeah, it's not a normal situation. So,
Your son must have enormous empathy growing up. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. And I'm also going to say a little bit of resentment because of that, right?
Oh, for
Like,
sure. Yeah.
why am I on the back burner? He understands now, like mom and dad need to, and it's still the same today. Like he'll ask me for help with something. I'll be like, yeah, just give me a second. And it's normal to us, but it's not normal to the outsiders. And you're right. We have friends that have been lifelong friends, and they'll still call us up, and it'll be like, because their kids are growing up now, and hey, do you guys want to do something tonight? Well, you can't just call us, and
Yeah.
we
It's
need
got
to. Yeah, it's like if we want to do something, it's a week in advance for us to set up respite care for Brittany, and if we can find it, and it's not just a drop of the hat and off you go anymore.
well, and your own health, right? You need your rest.
Yep.
You need, all those components got to be working for you too. You can't actually probably from a physical point of view afford to take a night off because you're going to be burned out for a week almost.
Yeah, it's the older you get, the harder it gets. Like
Yeah.
Brittany's gotten bigger. it's different challenges now. Like you have aches and pains that you didn't have when you were 30 years old, but yet you still have to get Brittany in and out of the tub or
Yeah.
in and out of the car. It's just
Can can you, I'd like, if you don't mind, could you share a story about Brit that sort of just made you smile, made your heart just feel great inside? I mean, you told me about how she loves swimming and sledge hockey and music. Just can you share a story with the folks so they understand?
yeah. I think one of the biggest things for us, Brittany was probably 4 years old. Um, we'd been taking her to Lansdowne Children's Center, which was a fantastic, but Brittany didn't walk. Um, she had leg braces. She had a little walker that she sat in that she could maybe move around, but because of the Odo syndrome and that, she just had very low muscle tone. So she was around 4 and she walked across the room, which was, you know, huge for us. Like everybody's child's first step are big, but that usually happens at maybe a year and a half old, not 4 years. So things that most people take for granted are huge milestones for us. Um, yeah, it's same as taking Brittany out to sledge hockey on Sundays during the winter. Like the smile on her face, she can't hold her own sticks, but we modified her sledge with a stick on the front, and she just loves being out there, loves being part of the action, I guess.
Part of the community, right? Doing what she wants to do and enjoying life. And that's the whole goal of community living access, is to help folks, kids and adults, get out there and do what they want to do with their disability and enjoy life, get the best out of their life. And I
Absolutely.
and I
But
think it's, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, once again, in order to do that, there has to be the funding, right?
Exactly. So
So
listen, we're throwing this out to all the political folks, our MPs, our MPPs, whoever's watching and listening. Do your job, help these kids, help these folks. It's important as a community that we're all doing our part to support community living access and to support folks like Brittany so that she gets the best she can get out of her life. Joel, Sean, Britt, thanks for doing this today. I really appreciate your time.
well, thank you for having us, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to us.